Hello, I thought I'd come out in the field in our post-rock district and give you a little update on what's going out in the field out here with the wheat. My name is Sandra Wick, crop prediction agent with K-State Research and Extension with the post-rock extension district. So is your wheat showing some yellowing or streaking by chance? Well, if so, the culprit just might be the wheat streak mosaic virus. This certainly isn't anything new. I'm sure that you've heard of it before, and it tends to appear in the field in patches or in spots around where actually the volunteer wheat was not controlled. Yes, it's the volunteer wheat again that can not only host the wheat curl mite, which is the spreading insect vector for wheat streak mosaic, but it can harbor other harmful insects to the crop as well. So let's just briefly review the wheat streak mosaic virus just a little bit. First of all, as I mentioned, the virus is spread by this tiny little insect called the wheat curl mite. And it's only as large as a tiny grain of sand. So if you can imagine, you can't see it with your naked eye, and you have to have a magnifying lens like 20 or 30 powered to even see this little insect. So let's go back to last fall after the wheat was harvested. The wheat curl mites were active then. So what happens is, once that wheat is harvested, they have to find another food source. So if volunteer wheat is left, that is their food source. So then they feed in that for a while, and then they overwinter in that soil, not specifically the wheat plant or other plants, but they overwinter in the soil. So the volunteer wheat here is the preferred host for the wheat curl mite. So that's their favorite food source, just like we have a favorite food source. However, these little critters, these little wheat curl mites, they cannot fly, hop, or jump. They actually move in the wind. And do you think we have any wind out here in Kansas? Absolutely we have wind. What have we been having this last month in April? There has been wind almost every single day. So, as you know then, that is how they are spread from field to field. So, wheat can either be infected in the fall or in the spring. In the fall, when the wheat is infected, it can significantly affect it a little bit more, or a lot more, I guess you could say. If the wheat curl mites overwinter and then they come awake again when the temperature warms up, then they can spread to neighboring, growing, existing fields and affect it in the spring as well. So with all the research that K-State has done, it is more significantly affected, or the yields are more significantly affected in the fall infected wheat than spring infected wheat. But it's very difficult to tell whether if it was infected in the spring or fall. Just by looking at the symptoms, you can maybe tell. Last fall, if your wheat was green all the way through, the winter it was green, and then in January and February, and in March when the wheat woke up and it was still green. But I have been talking with a lot of producers, and they say that the wheat didn't really start showing these symptoms until during the month of April. Okay, so now let's visit about what's going on out here in the wheat field now. If you can tell in the field behind me, and we're going to show some close-up pictures here, but it's definitely, by the name of it, it's definitely a yellowing of the wheat, different than if it had nutrient or nitrogen deficiency. This is a streaked, mosaic colored wheat. And we're going to show you some close-up pictures here that really indicates, and it really shows those symptoms. The symptoms, as you can see here, we're going to show some pictures. It generally starts at the edge of the field because those little wheat curl mites, remember, they are blown in from Mother Nature. So it usually starts on one end of the field and then it slowly moves into the field. It's usually not a very uniform effect of the wheat curl mite unless it's been going here for a while and it moves all the way across the field. Remember, the wind is what blows that little tiny insect the size of a grain of sand to the plants, and then that insect is what carries that wheat streak mosaic. There's other additional viruses that the wheat curl mite carries in the mosaic family, which could be either high plains or triticum mosaic. Okay, so the number one question is, so what can I do now? So your options are fairly limited at this time. So several questions have been coming in. Exactly, what can I do with this wheat? Well, it's hard to say, yes, this wheat is going to make 20 bushels, or yes, this wheat's going to make 50 bushels, because it depends on all the other factors that go in on the success of a wheat crop, which moisture is the number one factor, and then the productivity or the fertility of it. If those two things are there, then it will help with the mosaic virus that's already there as well. Unfortunately, there are no chemicals that's going to control that wheat curl mite. So the most effective management tool out there for preventing wheat streak mosaic is to control the volunteer wheat, because that is the preferred host. That's their favorite food of that wheat curl mite. There's some variety selection that you can look at, and we have some great publications from K-State. A wheat variety guide. In the back of that, it lists all the different varieties of wheat, and it rates those varieties for each of the disease that are out there. So it rates it from a 1 to a 9, with 1 being the best resistance to diseases, 9 being the worst. So when you go down that list and look at these wheat varieties, you're going to notice there's not a lot of varieties that carry resistance to the wheat curl mite, but there are some. So if you know that there's volunteer within a half a mile to even 2 miles within your field, you may want to really study those varieties and select one that has the resistance to it. Another thing you can do this next fall is to avoid early planting. So remember those best management practice dates? It used to be called the Hessian fly free date. In the north central Kansas here, it goes from September 29th to October 4th, kind of depending on where you are in that. If you have additional questions on the wheat streak mosaic virus, give me a call at any of our Post Rock District offices in Beloit, Lincoln, Mankato, Osborne, or Smith Center. And please go to our website at postrock.ksu.edu. We have several resources there for you, especially these two that I mentioned, or the one that I mentioned to you. We have another fact sheet too, just on the wheat streak mosaic virus. It gives you lots of color pictures, and it tells you some management practices to use as well. Also, I wanted to remind you or tell you, coming up is our annual wheat test plot tours. And that will be on May 22nd. So please go to our website and there will be more of the details. We will see you out in the field again. And this has been Sandra Wick, K-State Research and Extension Crop Production Agent with the Post Rock Extension District.